Okay, Simon gets in.
Okay, we got Kelly. Do we have? And is Tom Krutz gonna want his stuff up there? Kelly, move. Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just seeing if you were alive. Oh, you're frozen on my screen.
Yeah, he looked up.
He's frozen in his spot. How about this?
Yeah. Well, will the
He's
mom,
frozen at his phone.
I know, but will the owl follow
First time
her?
I sat down and pulled it out.
See, I think if the panel sits here, they can see what's going on. Yeah. That's my, okay.
Yeah, so I'll come again tonight, make sure owl's turn on. We'll make a movie.
All right.
Well, the light's on the side there.
Yeah, there's a red light.
Grade this honey this year? Did I grade the honey? Oh, and the fair judge.
Oh, hit it.
Uh-oh. Well, the paperwork I got has a highlighted entomology and a time. Today at 5:30. Except that's the time of drop off, and I'm not judging. You had to go to page 3 and they had just, real full stuff. And nobody, and it really doesn't even say there, judging is at that different times. I'm judging tomorrow morning. You're judging what? The honey tomorrow morning. Oh. They, I showed up at the fair and I said, well, I'm here to judge. She said, what? It's drop off. And I said, well, if I look at this, it sure looks like, I'm supposed to be here now. But. Do you need some help? Yes, let's put some papers in here and hopefully you'll have some people here. Kelly.
I'm getting up, I don't even have to be told, just let me do it on my own, okay?
Okay, I didn't know if you were like singularly focused. I'm trying to get the owl to follow me.
Do we go ahead and come back a little further? Yeah, yes, we can't really.
It's,
Well,
okay,
that's the furthest back we've ever been.
well,
That's the furthest back.
But
we've ever
she's trying to
been.
get the
okay, if
panel.
I'm a panel and so I'm giving talking and I'm holding things up like this. There can see where if the panel's up there with my back to it, they can't, the zoomers can't see.
Well, just had a banner that walked right around the room for you.
Hey.
Yeah, Banner James. Right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, they know why. I think that's very,
We're kind of pretty far back today.
yeah, that's all right.
Well, I was just thinking we could go ahead and, because we may have people behind us too.
Well, they could be sitting up here.
They could. Yes, dear.
Oh, I like it there, James.
Yes, dear. All right. Not like, you're with me.
I'm a bossy woman.
I'm so
Right?
glad. I'm so glad this is all being recorded.
That's okay. I look back. I speak my mind when trying to corral 25 kindergartners. You're not.
I just call them.
Actually,
All the lights you see.
It says
I
Zoom
was
meeting.
put out there
Sign in.
and we had some dads in the Boy Scouts. One of them decides at late at night, he's gonna surprise voice, and he goes out of the cabin, starts banging on the cabin on the outside. And I zoom out of the creatures area. Who is that? He runs around the back of the building. I said, get yourself out of here now. And I said, what do you think you're doing? I just hear the boys a little bit. I said, that is not your role. And he said, you're treating me like a kindergartner. I said, you're acting like one.
Yep.
No.
You know, when you get kids, their first time away from
Oh,
parents, they get scared. They don't handle
Yeah.
stuff like that easily.
All right, that's there, that's there, that's
Okay.
there.
yes, dear.
You wanna wait? Until.
Yeah, let's see how many we get before we start. We can haul more out. Sarah doesn't know how many frames yet, and then, Lawrence will be another one.
Hello, 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 follow me, hello. Oh, my God. Okay, Ted.
There's Hootie,
Yay.
Hootie in the blowfish.
Okay.
You move.
Hmm. Yes, now, whoever's speaking. Okay.
Okay.
Took a minute to find you, but. Okay. And then I can make it bigger. Here. Oh, no, and then.
I think I'm gonna get rid of those chains.
What's that?
And then, you want to sit here?
So far, only one participant, us.
I think I'm gonna get rid of those chains. I had a tie-down strap. Five things. Yeah, tie-down strap from the
Yeah.
bottom, top. That way they back loose.
Double row.
Yeah.
Worn off the buses now. Ooh,
Are they?
Saved by the bell. Cause then we got all those chairs.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Hot.
Oh, 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. 6:58.
6:57.
Isn't that one of
Okay.
the ones that work on, where they set themselves? Hi. All right. Oh, there. Oh, there. Get you girls right. Huh. Not. Which one? She. I know. A, three, okay. I only got three right now. Oh, okay.
We take ours back when we buy it though.
Okay, I just had
Another-
extra.
Another
week.
busy week.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Nah, I have to, I go back to this guy and
We
Girls
thought.
are busy.
get the city and I
Lot more.
also get this from.
I don't want to see the eyes.
I don't know.
Oh, right in front of you?
right in front of me.
Didn't even wait for you.
But, well, no, that's nice. But that part is like, okay, we're up to 21 highs because of.
Do you
all
need
that.
your comments sent?
What do you
to
do?
me? No, the panel is over here. So I think it's starting and that's
And
right there. You're gonna.
Nicole? No.
Panel discussion.
actually.
Want the other panel discussion?
Well, I don't
That's
understand.
See.
This is the head seat.
Yeah.
So if you want to be on our discussion, you can.
All right, I got the answers.
Mr. Kratz, you're over here. Okay.
Okay.
So I need to go.
Shiver up there.
I need to go here.
Oh, I forgot.
Yes.
We're aware of.
Me either.
I don't have one in the car. How about a feather? You bring that?
No.
What?
Hello.
I think I'm gonna.
Good, how are you?
Well, better go get it.
No, I'm sure I took that out. I cleaned up the car.
If I need one, yeah, right there.
Mhm.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Well, what do you say?
That side or that side? This is gonna be the people who kind of talk to them people. Okay. So they can see it.
No.
No, the last name.
Haver, Kelly, do you mind?
Yeah, here.
Oh. Hi.
You're the
Okay.
That's mine.
Yeah.
And my other half is mine.
You'll probably wear it.
Oh, I got a nice one.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with shameless.
Well,
Okay, it's me and you and Tom and who else? Because I didn't get the answer.
We have one new person online.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Daniel, okay, yeah, we got video and sound here. So. Goodness. Where's full screen?
Why, how do you like that there?
What'd you do?
I'm gonna switch it to speaker.
Did you have some there?
Mm,
They got it? Yeah.
you-
What do you do?
The share.
Probably big ones, I did little ones.
The unchecked gallery more.
That's right. And,
No.
anything.
No, is this the thing?
I know it doesn't really expire.
And it's.
Yeah.
That.
The most fun one is the lady.
So there should be, I thought there was a full screen, because this says exit full screen. But then we
Yeah,
just hit them
and
and
what
then.
always makes me nervous is the instructors make me, because, you know, to go back and to get up speed if you didn't have a big enough leg. But if you put the pontoon into the water.
Okay. I had it on video.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So where'd you do that in the season?
America.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got tired of the job and the boyfriend there, and I said. I'm down there. Hi there.
You'll be in.
Yeah.
Boyfriend?
Yeah.
So come on, vacation.
How do you know?
Yeah. Definitely. Hi.
What time is it?
I'm a little star for the name.
How are you? Okay.
Okay,
Where do I sit?
not there.
Unless you want to be on the panel. Oh. Yeah, here somewhere. Oh, right out.
Anyway.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
2 by 5.
3 wishes, what's 3 wishes, Jeff?
I thought maybe one of your bees landed, honey cereal.
Oh, okay.
So green, I was in green town before I came here, so
Gotcha,
it's
gotcha.
kind of a conversation piece of sorts. And then if I get hungry, I might eat it. I don't know.
Yeah, stuff like that.
You don't have what?
What time is it?
It is
7:05.
7:05.
Okay, where's Tom?
That question is not asked only to all, that's from our library. Or you let them know, that's the pass to the river. Yeah, if you want, or if.
Oh, yeah, the books just come out of the library. For those of you who, I do like a book, one or two books to reference. Sometimes you see something that you can, oh, I think I might like that book and, you know, it's pricey and so you don't want to order it. We've got probably 150 books, Cynthia, about 150 books. You can look at the book, you can check them out. You know, and look at them and see, hey, yeah, I really love this book, I want to get my own, or you can, you know, but again, they're good. It's showing my age that I like to have a book kind of, because sometimes I'm not sure what terminology to look for. Something's happening here, and I know it has to do with maybe honey extraction, but I don't know the terminology. Sometimes I can flip it through the book, get that terminology and kind of get me headed to what I can ask. So again, one or two reference books, general beekeeping books is good.
Cynthia, what's the oldest book in the library?
1939.
Sounds right. We've got some really old ones.
Yeah, and we've got, you know, some of the, you know,
I thought we had 1891.
we could have that too. My sister was, she liked old books and she'd go to the store and bookstores and anything with bees and old, she got. And now we,
Where is this located?
okay, Cynthia, could you describe?
Yes, we, have a business in Normal called Advanced Computing, and we have it in our shop. There's a little
Enough
nook area that's got all the books, and there's,
tables.
tables, couple tables and chairs that you want to just browse and kind of look through it.
Yeah.
Through a book or whatever.
It's on
That's right.
college and veterans by Kroger, that little strip mall in there. I think there's a music shop or something.
Yeah,
or-
music shop there, there's a Koshi restaurant, it's a
Yeah, yeah.
sushi restaurant that's in front
Yeah,
of
we
us.
need a bees and brews church, like.
Huh?
We need another bees and brews church, yeah. But anyhow, yes, so that's where it is. You can go, you can, you can actually go online. It's not the easiest searching for it. Sometimes you can do keywords and then it's got, you know, quite a few books. So it's technically online, but sometimes it's a little tricky to negotiate that particular site that was set up.
Yeah, and also those who live out of town, if you got a book that you kind of like, think you might like, we can work it out where we'll bring it to a meeting and give it to you, and then the next meeting, drop it off, or however it works out.
So yeah, so it's you know, you got a little bookcase there and you can just kind of look and see. And again, kind of browse, because sometimes, you know, there was one book I saw, you know, oh, this, yeah, I think it was Beekeepers Bible. It's pretty thick and pretty pricey. And I went and I flipped through it. And I like pictures. Going back to my childhood, and there wasn't any. And, you know, so that gave me a feel, oh, no, I don't want this. So again, it's a way of being able to find out more information. Like, again, we don't have sometimes the terminology, especially when you're new. It's kind of like the bees are doing something, but I don't know what it is. You know, the orientation flight versus the swarm flight versus robbing. I don't know, you know, I may not know what that terminology is. And so, okay, let me look at this description, you know, what's going on with my bee flight behavior. And then you can Google it afterwards because then you got the terminology. And so using that combination and good reading material. So the library is another resource as members that you have the right to use. All right. There has been a change in equipment rental usage. It's coming to me, and so you will have to make an appointment to check out the equipment. We've been running into some issues where some people, and Cynthia it was wonderful. She had a shop, she would have it, pass it off and things like that. But some people were kind of like, especially in the drop off area, hey, Cynthia, bye, and drop it off. And then by the time she's got a chance to look at it, there's parts missing, it's dirty and things like that. So, and she's got a business to run. She can't just drop a customer to take care of bee business with us. So it's, we're going to switch it over to me. I have a little bit more flexible in time, but you will have to make an appointment to come, and I expect you to spend about 15 minutes, going over it, what you're taking, but then also when you come back, going over that it's clean, all the parts are there. Like right now, we're missing a J bolt, chains have gone missing, and different parts have gone missing. So we want to, and take a little bit of time making sure, because Tom, what happened when you picked up the equipment that somebody else had dropped off?
I couldn't get the top to sit right, and I couldn't change it down to the stand. So it was pretty unusable unless I was gonna like sit on top of it and keep it from bouncing.
And that's not our first time, so it's not our first time we've had some of those issues. And again, some people don't realize just, you want that equipment clean. And if somebody drops off equipment and you can see handprints on it, you can feel the sticky, you open the gate and there's a little groove in that gate that honey doesn't like to come out with, within that. So it's gonna be an appointment with me. I'm pretty flexible. I'm pretty flexible, but it will be, I can do during the day, I can do during the night, that doesn't matter. You just have to make an appointment, that's all I'm gonna ask of you within that. So, we do also have an oxalic acid, kit that you can rent, but borrow. Those are some of the things that we have. Okay, let's see, what else was I gonna talk? Okay, Saturday is our extraction event. It will be at my place. I'm about 6 miles southwest of Hayward. I can give 6424 Alexander Road. Now, if you plan on bringing out, so far, I've got a few people that have contacted me. If you have, frames you want to extract, you are welcome to bring them. You are limited to 24. Okay, because we've got sorry. If you want to wait till the end, you can do it. And again, so we'll have a 12-frame extractor, which is mine. We've got a 6-frame extractor, which is the club's. And those two are radial. And when, we can talk about extractors there too. And then we have one 4-frame that is a tangent. And they work a little different within that. So again, part of why we do this extraction event is giving you hands-on. You can look at the equipment, hands-on, touchy-feely. Oh, that's what it means by tangent. That's what it means by radial. They're all electronic. I will have 3 uncapping stations going. So 3 different people you can be uncapping your frames. And again, there's different methods. You've got bread knives, you've got rollers, you've got scratchers, you've got hot knives. So you've got, and it's kind of nice to be able to try, I like this, a lot of times when I'm uncapping, I'm using a variety. So one frame does great with the bread knife, but then there's little, sucked in places where I have to use the scratcher or something else, and there's, as with anything, there are pros and cons to each method. You will need, if you bring frames, tell me, and because what I do is whoever told me first they're bringing frames, they get to go first. I also want to have an approximate number, reason being, I've got a 12-frame and a 6-frame. If somebody's got, so I kind of try to balance it out. If you got 6 frames, okay, you go over here. If you've got, 24 frames, you're going to go over here. So I kind of try to balance that out. You will need to bring buckets for your honey. So any buckets that you want, approximately a 5-gallon bucket, 12 frames will get close to filling that 5-gallon bucket. So for every 12 frames, you need 1 bucket.
And we're all medium frames or
12 medium. 12 medium.
Yeah.
What?
They were near.
No.
Good for you.
I
But-
do.
no,
Medium.
Never go to the top.
With 12 frames.
With problems, yeah, medium, yeah.
Okay.
Lucky last time.
So, so again, and we'll show some, how you can do a crush method. So there are, again, different things, but sometimes seeing them, you can watch videos, but it's kind of hard. You'll have other people there to be able to, try this, try that, and help you along with it. And I'll have this, but you'll also need a bucket for your uncappings. So at least one bucket for your, frames, for each 12 frames, a bucket for your on-capping, and what you can do with them. And again, we have different strainers, so there's different methods of being able to strain the honey. There's different levels of straining, and so again, hands-on, my place is starting at noon. I did pick up more mead.
Good.
We got some meat to share a lot and light snacks. So again, coming out, you know how many you got, Jeff? Okay, Friday, if anybody wants to help me, I'm gonna have to try and pull off some frames for a demonstration purpose off the club hives, all right? Right now, the club has 8 hives, no, make that 9 hives, and the one got split. Okay, it's 9 hives there right now. So we're gonna, so again, we're gonna demonstrate some stuff so you can see it. So even if you don't have frames to bring, it is a good idea to come, and be social and ask questions. Why are you doing it like that? How, what all that stuff looks like and things like that. So even without frames, if you're just a beginner, you can come do it. All right, so again, you can come watch, you can help. I'm sure, like if somebody's bringing 24 frames, he wouldn't mind having extra help on capping, because the on-capping, because you have to do each frame by frame by frame through that. And so you can help and show some of that within that. So we hope to have some experts there as well as some beginners and everywhere in between. Okay, starting at noon. I know one person is gonna be late, and that's okay, to approximately 4. Flexibility. You'll also learn how to clean up equipment too. That, and again, there are some different tricks to it. There are different methods to do it. And again, so we will clean up, we'll do some cleanup, and you'll see just some of the things that you can do for cleanup within that. Because again, it is you may say, hey, I like borrowing the club equipment. The extractor, typically we loan out approximately a week. But, and there are certain times of the year, like now, where a lot of people want it at the same time. So you have to make a reservation, in a sense, make a reservation. If there's nobody wanting you, so you've had it a week and there's nobody wanting it the next week, yeah, you can keep it that extra week, because sometimes it does, between work and play and weather, may slow you down a little bit. So but judge approximately a week. But if nobody else is behind you wanting it, then we'll go that way, all right? And kind of be plotting with it, because some people come in, I want it today. Well, it's already checked out. So you have to do some planning.
Or partner with a friend.
Tom, you partner quite often with a buddy.
Mike, yep.
Yeah, so if you've got a buddy that you're kind of venturing with.
A lot easier.
Yeah, so you can, and even a friend who's not a beekeeper, and they kind of like, oh, I want to watch that. I want to help with that. That's kind of part of the fun part for other people to see. That's where the home and seeing that.
That's a great point. That's a great way to introduce people to bees and into your honey. It's a great way to sell your honey. As people come over, have them bring their kids and see the whole operation and get involved and finger wax on it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good time. I think most people, that's their favorite part of beekeeping, is extracting and having their friends there and seeing through the bucket and into the jar. It's pretty rewarding.
And so again, there's some tricks to it that, it's like I put a tarp on the ground. I have a pair of shoes. When I leave that tarp, those shoes stay there, because otherwise you get a track of honey through the house. So even something simple.
Doorknobs.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that's kind of like, okay, so yeah, we'll be in the garage, I've got a large garage. At least it's bigger than this room. So, yeah, okay, about almost 2, and stuff, so, and like I said, we'll have light snacks, we'll have some meat, if you want to bring a snack, that's okay. All right. Okay, equipment, next Bees and Brews will be a special one. We're gonna go to Tippy Creek. He will be at our next meeting. Am I in the right
Yep,
month?
yep,
Okay, now, okay, Tippy Creek, it's over in my near Tippy Creek, Rod Preston, he's got an event venue. I haven't seen it. How would you describe it, Tom?
No, it's a palace. I hate the color shed because it's a fully finished shed, like it's drywall and everything inside. Heated and cooled, and he's got epoxy floors and tables and there's an attic up top with more tables, overhead projectors. It's really, really.
Yeah, so he rents this out, so this is,
Doesn't screw around.
yeah, so he does well. It will be a BYOB. So because, he may supply some and we might supply some, but most part, plan on coming there. And again, we'll have snacks more than a full dinner type situation. So just as long as you're, but, what I understand, and I've heard it from a few people, that this is kind of a really neat place to go see and visit. And it's my near. Okay, so, next meeting, he will actually be talking about how to bottle to sell, your honey within that. So again, this is kind of the plan, is learning how to, what you're looking for pulling your frames, how you can do some of that. So you got an idea, then, the hands-on and extraction, so you can, get your honey out. Then, going to his, and when he talking about, how to market your honey. Some of you are just gonna give it away from friends, and that's okay. But there's some things, you can do, some junky bottles or nice bottles, and it may cost you the same, but it looks a whole lot better with it, some things like that. So you want your honey to look good. All right? Anything else I should talk about?
You just did Rob's whole presentation, but okay.
Anything else? Okay, we're gonna do kind of a panel. Tom came up with some great questions on, getting your honey. This seems to be a great time there seems to be a lot of flow out there, getting your honey and getting your frames out of your hive and methods to do that, within that. So what's one of our questions?
All right, I tried to come up with some questions that, we haven't talked a lot about in here before. And, so I'm gonna throw the question out. I also went out to, chat GBT, whatever and had the AI give me answers. So if we get stuck, I can give you AI answers on this too. But, reading through them, they look pretty reasonable. But, does humid weather impact honey harvesting?
What do you think?
Yes.
Why? Yeah, the evaporation. Okay, so what's important about the evaporation, do you think, Ed?
Well, it gets the moisture down in your honey and it probably ferment on.
Okay, for those of you who don't know, what the humidity, honey is hygroscopic. In other words, it absorbs moisture out of the air within that. So if you leave your honey open on a counter, it's gonna pull in that moisture out in a humid place. The problem is when you add moisture to honey, it can mold. So you have to get it down to a certain level. And the bees do that. And so when you pull open your frame and you've got comb, it's got honey on it, but it's not capped. They don't cap it till that moisture level is lower. And so once it gets down between that 16-17%, would you say?
Below 18.
Below 18, yeah.
Below 18%, and we'll show you how to measure that. Then that's when they cap it, and that wax keeps the moisture from going in. So if it's humid out, they have to dry it out. So think about if it's humid out, what do you have to do in your house? You gotta add a dehumidifier. And so that makes a difference in how that air feels, but that also makes a difference on that within the bees. So that ventilation, so when it's hot and it's humid, you may want to open your lid a little bit more to kind of get that ventilation. There's actually even screens you can put on underneath your lid to, again, help with that ventilation. The bees are pretty good, but they may need just like with us, we open the window a little bit more to get that ventilation type thing. So what we want to add?
I would say don't always count on the frames being capped. to be below 18%. So like, sometimes your frames are much lower, like 17, 16, and they just don't have a cap. Various reasons. They could be stripping it off and eating it, there could be pests, there could be robbing, there could be all those things, so like. If you're full of honey and you're waiting for them to cap it, get a hygrometer off of eBay for $20 or borrow one from the club or.
Do we have ours in the car, your car?
Yeah.
Would you mind go getting it? Either one.
It's a little tricky, but a quick YouTube video, you learn how to do it.
Yeah, and
Always-
Saturday, you will have a hands-on with it. So it will actually physically do it hands-on on Saturday.
Talking to a guy at maybe Expo, Cayman Reynolds thing. He was up in Wisconsin, he was pulling about 250 pounds of hive and his honey. What he was finding was the honey was burning way earlier than when it's. So he was actually going and testing his supers and pulling frames early.
Okay. Yeah, okay,
So I was reading online, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was reading online, that there's ripe honey, and when the bees determine that it's ripe, they'll cap it. And it's not just the humidity, the bees process that honey to make it, to change that nectar into honey. And sometimes,
Right.
and sometimes they're not done processing, so they haven't capped it even though it's below 18%.
Okay.
We can still harvest it, but it's not considered ripe honey.
Okay, now, and the trick, I think, is when you've got that uncapped honey, measuring it, so you just take a scoop of it and measure it? Or wait till you spin it?
Tell you the truth, I don't measure. So
Okay.
what I do is I average out 2/3. So I might take a super, if I can shake the honey out, it stays. So if it won't shake out, I'll average out 2/3 cap and mix it, because it's all mixed in tanks and buckets for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not as concerned about it. I do try and if maybe a bucket here and there, or if I see a bucket bulge, I'll go and check it. So that I always pay attention to that. I never spend. I'll tell you this, I learned this the hard way. And if you watch the commercial, with a lot of the beekeeper Facebook posts, not all buckets are created equal. So just because you go and buy a bucket, doesn't mean, and just because it says food grade, doesn't mean it can withstand the weight of honey. So, they were saying the ones out of Lowe's, I forget what it was, they're like 30 grams instead of 60 grams. And the buckets were leaking. They were failing. Not able to handle it. They definitely couldn't handle it. So,
Didn't know
be
that.
aware, it's high quality buckets. James gave me a tip last year, a place on Amazon. I think it was you, right, James? For
Yeah.
5 buckets for.
Yeah.
$50.
Oh.
But it was, no, it was cheaper than that.
Yeah.
They were like $5.
Yeah, they were, it was a good price.
Those are heavy
But
buckets.
they're good quality buckets.
So if you're gonna stack your buckets, sorry, I got.
That's good.
Put a piece of plywood over the top of the bucket and then put your bucket on top of that. Cause it distributes the weight to the side and not on the lid, in the middle of the lid where it's gonna fail. But anyway, where I was going with this is I look at my lids, and if my lids start to bulge, then I'll go and test that bucket and see if I got a problem, but not gonna win.
Yeah. Now, James, I know you have, and I've done this too. One of the things, I harvested the honey and it's kind of like, okay, the moisture level is a little high. Now, my oven has a dehydration system, set up, and I just left the jars open and let it go that way. James, describe what you did with yours.
Basically, what I do, I'm getting ready to do that here real soon, is I just pull all the honey off of the hives, whether it's capped or not. I pull all the supers off, except for like one super that's almost empty, that kind of thing. So they do have something to eat. I take the supers home and, out at Sam's, you can get these big sheet pans. I don't know if you can't get the ones that's big enough for the whole deal, but you gotta get a full
Hold
sheet
there.
cake, pan. And you can, I'll set bricks in the corners. And then I'll set the supers on top of it, so you've got a couple inches of airspace underneath, and I just stack them up. I lay a fan on top of them, blow the air down through. Then I keep it, what you would do is just keep it in a room in the house or something, that you can put a dehumidifier in the room to keep the room dehumidified. And it takes about 3 days and it'll pull that moisture down and you'll have a nice.
James, you
It
have,
doesn't take long. You don't want to do it too long because I did it the first year and I had it so thick you couldn't hardly get it out.
James, you have an incredible wife to allow you to do that.
Well, I've got problems. I got
So again, I like to, and again, there's differences, different ways of doing it. I like to have mine capped, that's what I'm primarily gonna go. I leave quite a bit of honey on for the bees, but I'll pull the honey that's capped. And those kind of things. Now, the advantage of having your own extractor, I can extract and the next day I go get 12 more, but the ones I just extracted go back on a hive, so I don't have,
Takes a lot of you to be done.
yeah, it does, it really does.
It's just chaos and then you just got so much stuff in the way, then you're working around it.
Yeah, because if you're pulling all your honey off all your hives, how many boxes would that be for you, Tom? So again, if I'm up really high, it could be, you have 20 boxes.
Let's start with that. Let's start with how do we let's start with how do we know, so that's where you're going with the moisture content, right?
Yeah, and then the next question was, well, what's the best time of day to harvest the honey? Does the time of day matter?
Yep. Earlier is always better,
Why?
because the girls are out foraging and I can be as protected.
Okay,
You do it later in the day, everybody's home, you're gonna be a lot more aggressive.
and right now the girls are pretty even, so I can pull my frames and I can put them out and there's not a lot around. In a month from now, you can't do that without having something over the honey that you're pulling before everybody else goes like this. And you'd be surprised how quickly when Robin.
Even now.
Yeah, and so far my girls have been nice.
So the AI agrees with Kelly. It says, the earlier the better. Early morning temperatures tend to be cooler, compared to midday, so the honey is more viscous and easier to handle as you're trying to pull it out of the hive. Early morning, let's see, moisture content. So overnight, the bees work to ventilate the hive and reduce the moisture content of the honey. Harvesting early in the morning can sometimes mean the honey has lower moisture content, which is desirable to prevent fermentation. And then obviously there's light and bee activity. The bees are leaving late morning, so you don't want a lot of the worker bees in the hive when you're trying to pull the honey.
Okay, okay, so you want the bees out of the box. Want to go this way next? Okay, so there's various methods of when you pull the frame, getting the bees off. So in other words,
Hold on, before we talk about that, so like, I guess around some of the people that have had their bees for a while, how are you ensuring that the queen isn't in your boxes where you're? So everybody's using queen.
I don't.
Are you keeping your queen on the, like that with you keep your queen on the boxes?
because
How do you know she's not there when you're pulling?
okay, I pull everybody apart. I sort them into 3 boxes. Brood, queen goes in a nuke box. So I've got brood, open comb or honey that's not capped and capped honey. And then when I put them back, I always put my queen and all the brood at the bottom, then my open, then any frames that are close to being capped are on top.
So you're finding your queen
Correct,
first. Correct. Tom, that's what you're doing.
No, I didn't necessarily find the queen. I sort of that same method, but I'm only using 2 boxes because I'm not going down into the brood boxes. Which can be any, because I run 8-frame mediums for everything. And I found that I was getting honey bound, just last week. And they were extracting honey and starting to build about a 3-inch dome on the bottom of my honey supers that have brood in them now. Timing is everything, but I go frame by frame. I take the top box and I look at each frame and then, shake off the bees back into the box and move it over to my take it away box. So I don't just take the whole box like James is doing. I take frame by frame.
Actually, I do extract, I do bring out one frame at a time. Typically, Cynthia and I are working together. I get the frame out, I give it a good shake physically, and then I'll brush off the rest of it with a brush, and then I hand it off to Cynthia. She gets it in the truck and keeps it covered up, in a couple weeks. They'll be probably going crazy here with the dirt, but, and so, and we've ran into it before whenever you're having that robbing starting to happen. And so she's putting that cover on that, inside the truck immediately. And so we're working together, the team, but we're doing the same thing. You are pulling off a frame at a time. And that way you can go through, because this year it's working, but I have pulled some honey already. We've pulled, about 4 mediums already. And so what we do is we pull all the honey supers off, and I'll put on an empty super, and I'll start going through the supers, and I'll shake anything that's capped, I'll shake, or mostly capped, and we'll take it off. Anything that's not capped, I put it back on the hive. Until the very end, which would be this Saturday for me. I just pull everything off. We pull everything off, and then, we might leave one box on there of mostly empty. Just to give them a little bit more space, because last year I did it and there were so many bees that it was.
So some folks are inspecting frame by frame as far as which ones to pull, which ones not to pull.
So back to what Tom was saying about finding the queen. So you find your queen on each.
My queen's below extract.
Okay, so you can.
So I use excluders. So like right now, I'm going through, that said, I have tons of mediums that I put on just hoping that they're gonna draw, but if they're not gonna with an excluder. So I'll let them draw. And I want them to lay up in some of the mediums because I use those for mating use, but I will be going through like this week and sorting stuff out and putting everything above an excluder. So I'll get her below the excluder and get all my medium above excluders, and I'll even sort out some deeps above excluders, just that stuff that's.
We also do frame by frame, but we get those Sterlite plastic containers with the seals.
And and like I said, I can show you that at my place, anytime we have the hive inspections, the sterilite he's talking about, some different tubs, some different things I've used, we've got hive buttons, there's all sorts of things on being able to sort them out, like he's talking about.
Yeah, we like that because, it's harder to deal with a box that's open on the bottom and top. You gotta, what we did sometime, we lay a cover upside down, box it on top. That was just too much.
Political signs, yeah,
Okay,
and 4-H signs, fair's over.
One more week.
okay, now a term was thrown out here. Raise your hand if you know what honey bomb means.
Lots of honey.
Okay, not every, you don't know. Okay, for those, and again, honey bomb, what happens is, okay, the queen likes to lay. But right now, in the springtime, the workers and the queen are all focused in on brood building. Well, now your workers, your foragers are all focused in on collecting for the winter. And what can happen then, Sarah, is they get so much honey, they're kind of like, there's a huge flow on, they're packing everything, and then she doesn't have any place to lay. They fill it up so much, they're not leaving her any place to lay. Well, when that happens, she says, I'm out of here, it's crowded. So that can be one of your reasons for swarming, is because she doesn't have a place to lay. So that could be why you need to harvest some of this stuff, even if you're not a lot, but you can try and harvest some of it. So again, trying to give her room to lay, and or she can, the brood, they don't put honey where she's been laying, and they've got a place to put honey. So sometimes that's one of the things you're looking at on your.
So like over here, you can look down, like, sometimes this is a good thing right here, you have all the fur cone on the top, sometimes that's a tip. Then you can look down into the frames and you'll see the honey cappings on top. When you look at frame, this is what you don't really wanna see right here, is you can see this is nectar all the way down to here. Nectar right here, this is capped honey all the way here. So she just doesn't have room.
Yeah, so you don't.
They're gonna go for rabbits.
Did you have a question?
Would they move, I mean,
Yeah.
they will move it out of the way?
Okay, move it out of the way for her to be able to lay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, my opinion.
Mixed reviews.
Yeah, well, you're always gonna have mixed reviews.
Yeah. Okay.
But I had seen the frame for 90 at the super, and then they moved it up.
So they-
But it needs to be a drawing super.
That's
But I had 6 frames that I was looking at that had just a little, about that big.
No room.
Well, that was all brood. The rest was capped honey. I was getting ready to pull it and I'm like, whoa, I have a little ball of capped brood. And I had that on 6 frames right in the middle. And so I know they had to move that out and then she climbed up because that was, my 5th box up.
Oh,
One thing I've experienced besides being honey bound or brood bound is especially after they swarm, they bring in pollen like crazy. And they will fill those frames with pollen, and after a season, those pollen filled frames are just worthless.
Oh, yeah, so, again, it's, sometimes the girls don't let you know what we're doing. Okay, now,
All right, so next question.
sure, but,
Oh,
best way to get bees away from the honey super. Again, okay, now, and I think some of us are. Shake, it sounds like James does a shake, and so again, I pick up a frame that I'm gonna shake, and so I kind of, and I kind of sometimes take the frame and just kind of go like this on the edge, so the bees fall back into the hive. Sometimes depending on how many bees are on there, just kind of a shake. And what I'll do is I'll shake it, then I put it, kind of away, and then if I decide those are the frames are gonna take, there may be a few more bees on there, I do another shake, and as I'm walking maybe 10 feet away to where my box is, any little stragglers, I blow off. A feather will work within that and stuff, so that's, and again, the tubs that he talked about, I can put it in the tub and the tubs I have, I particularly like, because I can open it with one hand, put it in and close it. Where I got a hive butler, it was hard to one hand and open.
We got a hive butler.
It,
It just puts in place, it's like Velcro on your
it's,
shirt.
yeah, it's like I have to, there's 4 locks, and it's a great little, it's good for a lot of other things, but for me to be able to slide something in and put a lid down.
another reason I have a buddy, a bee.
And then it's back on RTV, so then I move, I kind of drive away, open it up, any stragglers in there. So I have kind of a 1, 2, 3 step of moving them, and each time getting any leftover bees out of there.
One thing about shaking is you want to shake them enough to get them off. But you don't want to go so vigorously to body slam them. Yeah. World wrestling.
Yeah, so there is, and again, so,
Now, one of the things, that's one of the reasons why we take the honey supers. So some of our hives have like 5 supers, and so we'll pull all those supers off. And then start putting back as we, if they're capped, we're putting it in capped, where we're gonna keep it. But then if it's not capped, we're gonna put it back on the hive, then we start reassembling the hive, that way. As we shake bees off, we're shaking them back into the hive and not into the stack of supers that we've got sitting off the side. And it kind of keeps them from collecting on all the honey supers.
yeah, and for most part, you want to shake them into the hive, not just shake them off, but into the hive itself, because first of all, some of the nurse bees don't know how to get back there. What do you do?
Super is just.
I do a lot of different things, so I'll use bee escapes like this.
Okay,
So the way this is sitting right now is upside down. So this is the part that's important, is this right here. So this side goes down. You put it like this, you're not gonna get anywhere. But this way on top of your hive, and then a couple days later. Yeah. So I'll do that.
yeah, so they go down.
Your hive, you mean your honey's above that.
My super's above that.
And see, the bee goes into the hole, and it's a little bit of a maze to get out. So they can go into the hole easy and then they work around, but it's hard for them to figure out the way back in up to the hole. So it's
They
kind of,
say that if you leave it on too long though, they learn.
yeah, that they can work. So, 24 to 48 hours. So you have to do some advanced planning.
And it depends how many boxes you have on top of it. So, like, if you have 6 boxes back up, so
Okay,
your results may vary, right? So if you put just a couple boxes on top of it, you're probably good overnight, next day, like 24, 48 hours.
now I've had people that buy kits and put little things in there and they go, what? Similar to this, you know the hole in the inner cover that's a kind of an oval hole? That fits in there and it's, the bees, it's a smaller version of this, I'll say. The bees go in and have a harder time getting back out, so this snaps into that hole. But again, it's a little bit smaller, so it's a small version of this.
So I use that, and then I use fume boards.
You got one to show?
Yep, just like that. Mine,
You think in the shed, the nice
I
microphone.
had all foam shoot out of mine too. That's one from like Hilco. It's like a corrugated plastic on top. Some tricks to these, like you can make one and just put some like sweatshirt material in there. You spray some smelly stuff on the material and put it on top of the hive, and it has to be hot and sunny for best results.
Okay.
Shade, it's not gonna do anything.
So basically what you're trying to do is say, hey, this smells bad, I want out of here.
So what's interesting though is there's a lot of different stuff that you can spray on there. And some of it's,
Be quick, be go, honey robbers.
so some of it smells like rotten flesh, and some of it smells really good, actually. So like I think I used the Fisher Be Quick, and it smells like almonds, so it smells pretty good. And I made my own last year, because John was out of it, and it worked pretty good. It didn't work as good, but it worked pretty good.
So how'd you make it?
I have.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody told me-
Yeah, so my guess is, okay, so you put it on the fabric, so it holds that then that on top, so that goes on top, and it's trying to get the bees down as far as they can. Make sure they've got space to go down there,
There's a super.
Yeah.
Then what I'll do is I take the supers and I set them on their side, and I use a leaf blower. And I'll blow the bees out of the supers, and I'll have a lid upside down in my truck. And I'll take that box with most of the bees sprayed out of it, and I'll set that on top of the lid and put another lid on top of it. And then I'll go blow the next one. So what I do is I set them all on top of the hives, kind of on the edge. And I'll go through and do like one at a time, but I'll have them all sitting up, so that where I blow the air through, I don't have anything on the other side, so they're not like slamming into something and hurting the bees, but if it just goes right through, the bees are fine.
I've got a tip that I learned the hard way with leaf blowers. The holes in back that sucks in the air, some of them are big enough for the bees to be sucked in. And guess what? The bees like to, then they're smelling bees.
Oh, pheromone.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. So I just took like an onion bag type mesh over the holes because bees were getting sucked in.
I use a combination of like a hand blower I had before, and now I just use my backpack blower.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'm stuck with it myself, so I leave the backpack blower on and I'll flip the tube, go down and shut the box down. It sucks. It's a lot of work. It's miserable work.
So some of the pros and cons, the bee board and then the little escape thing, that takes some planning. It's gentle on the bees, but it could take 24 to 48 hours. On, the fume boards, those can work in, 20 to 30 minutes.
Then you'll
But-
get one for each hive.
I'll usually go set like 4 to 8 hives at once with the fume boards. So I'll give it like, I don't go nuts with the spray, like more is nuts. I'll spray the stuff on there and then when I finish like 8 hives, then I'll go back and do the first one to start clearing them. And you might only get 1 box clear, or sometimes 2 boxes clear. Your results may vary depending on how hot it is, how cranky the bees are, how sunny it is. There's a lot of variables. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't work at all. It just depends.
Don't you like that? Just depends.
It's pretty quick.
If, okay, but did you have, okay, you got it. And again, there's different methods, see what ones will work with you. Part of the is getting the bees off, and I find that the bees don't like brushes. The turkey feathers, there's turkey feathers indoor, but every kid has that bee brush. Oh, yeah, I'll just brush off the bees. Yeah, I use it on other things, getting off spider webs or whatever. But and I not only, the bees didn't like it, it got honey and propolis or wax on it and kind of sticky. And so, the feathers is kind of the, turkey feathers is kind of a one, you kind of can use it and then throw it away and get another feather. So if you got a hunting buddy.
Bucket water works pretty good
Yeah.
to clean that feather off.
Yeah, and like I said, I do a shake. I did learn kind of a hard way. Sometimes I've like dropped it onto the, where it's in its own, in the holder, especially when it's very big there. If it went down too far, if they didn't staple the frames on the side of the top can come off sometimes. Ask me how I know.
It's so strong.
So it's, so, it's.
I go inside.
I've done it, I've done it various ways, I've done it sideways, I've done long ways, that, shape.
And he'll be like, be careful, you're getting some off the side, and I'm like.
Yeah, and yeah, so, and you're trying to do that, like, okay, so I'm over the frame, she's talking about like that, and that's pushing anybody, and it gets.
That comes to a reason for assembling your frames yourself.
Right.
Because a lot of times they don't care about putting glue on it.
Yeah.
And when I assemble my frames, I always glue them. I do staple
Most of the frames I'm having problems is ISU frames, when we had little classes and they assembled frames. They didn't do that, even though, they were rookies and did that. Okay, so into the tub and, into a tub, whatever container, lid, keep the bees off, get them away. Cause they will find it. You leave it out. So you say, oh, I'll take it out and put it on the porch. All the bees are there. I'll find it very quickly. They've got good smellers.
They'll find the holes. Sure.
Yeah, they're good at finding the holes and all of a sudden it's gone.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
What if it's not frame break off before you get the honey comb out, the full of honey?
well, yeah. You would be with that. Okay, so there is a method of extraction that's called a crush method.
Okay.
Basically, you scrape all that off into a bucket. Well, again, Saturday we'll show you. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, just try it out.
There's also times when I had that happen and I've been able to get that frame back to shed. Put glue on it, I clamp it in.
Sometimes you can kind of squeeze it, if you catch it early enough, you can squeeze it down together. But you're kind of like, okay,
Special.
I'll
No.
take it all off and see if I can.
The glue is all, it's just those two little knots. Right.
So bring us, anyone, and then
Also, I want to know. So how long can I store the home inside the containers? Or it's your place? Like if I,
the sooner the better, the shorter the better, let's go that way.
so like if I harvest what I can or take out what I can.
Hold on, Friday,
Oh, yeah.
3/7.
Yeah, Thursday, bring it Saturday, yeah, that's fine,
Isn't, if it's cat.
it should be, yeah,
Most of it is.
yeah,
It'll be okay.
Yeah.
If you're gonna store it for a certain amount of time before you actually extract it, you can, if you have a little chest freezer, throw your.
or, yeah. Okay, what do you mean by, and I think her question is kind of how, 2 days or 2 years, there's a difference, kind of.
Well,
2 days versus 4 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I think it's fine. It's
Two
floors and down these
Because the
websites.
space and everything else, they're calling for transferring on Wednesday, so you don't wanna start taking away space and then leave them out on the front of
Oh. Leaving-
He's talking about taking the whole box away and
Yeah.
then maybe they don't have enough room, then.
Yeah.
They all come home.
Yeah, so, okay, so if you wanna pick, if you, Thursday, bring it out Saturday, that's fine. So I would say a week or two, you're gonna be okay.
Can I just
Yeah.
keep it?
And that, one of
If you got a tub or something in it. Yeah, if it's in a tub in the garage, you're okay.
the biggest factor of how long you keep that honey sitting in the frames, you can keep it sitting in the frames for a while.
What's a
but
while?
The key, well, a week.
Okay,
But the key thing is if those frames have had brood in them. And so let's say you've got a little bit darker frame where you've had brood in it, anytime you've got the cocoons in there, that's attractive to larvae, as far as, your, beetle, hive beetle larvae and wax moth larvae. And so you could have had, potentially could have had hive beetle lay eggs on it. And so you've got a finite period of time that you've got a few days before, those larvae are gonna hatch out and start getting into your honey.
But
But if you've got virgin combs, you've got combs, so just almost always,
like,
virtually always been with just honey, there's no protein source, and so it's not as attractive to them. You see,
I found it interesting that do you know who Frederick Dunn is?
I've heard the name.
He's one of the YouTube guys, very scientific approach to this things, and he talks about that he will freeze his frames, for like a few days, basically the same as you would to kill wax moth, before you store it.
Yeah, then you're good to go.
I thought, well, geez, that's gonna do something to crystallize the honey. He says it doesn't affect the honey that
No,
way.
no,
So,
actually, you can store honey in a frozen state and it will not crystallize. It's one of the better ways to keep it because it'll keep the quality of the honey better, they say. And you can actually freeze it in glass jars because there's so little moisture there, it won't break your jar.
so anyway, answer your question, harvest on Thursday, bring it down. Or, Wednesday, Thursday.
And on that same notes, you don't want to hold them too soon and then track ants your stuff.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I've had frames blow out in a tractor.
When I take out a honey filled frame, do I just put an empty one in for the bees then to work on?
But okay, the best would be put a comb frame in, but you probably don't have it.
Well, I kind of do actually, so just that one.
Yeah, so if you pull, if you
I'll
pull,
leave the blanks.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
they're pretty good, like quick. Yeah, so pull, if you have, and again, put things in, if you have some with open comb on it, put those.
Okay, so here's another, ask me a question, get a million answers. if you're just pulling one or two frames, you can actually put and leave just 9 frames in a 10-frame super,
Yeah.
space them out.
Yeah.
And it'll actually build,
Build
You can even,
wider and get more honey.
Depending on how you uncap your frames, that's definitely a big plus. Like once you have drawn comb, you wanna spread them out and have 9 frames. I've never really had much luck with the 8 frames, they just get too big.
yeah,
Gross, but some people like that. I think if you use a hot knife, it's okay, but I hate dealing with gamets.
yeah, actually going 9 frames, you net a little bit more honey in your super.
But then you get more in your uncapping that you got.
Yeah, you-
Get that.
And then aren't they wasting energy on that wax you're taking away by cutting off that?
Yeah, but some people really like that.
Yeah.
Some people think candles or lip balm.
That's what you should have.
Yeah.
No, okay, okay, I know Sarah's new.
They got it wrong.
Okay, so what happens is when you space it out, not, some people do 9 instead of 10 because they want those extra fat frames. And if you can't squeeze them down, because if it's fat, then the honey pushes against the others, possible bees in there too. So, but so that's why we have the 10. That spacing is pretty important within it. And now I find this, I like to, when I put in spare frames, and if I've got a frame with no comb and they're building, I like to go in between brood, because when I go in between honey, if I put them in between 2 honey frames that aren't capped, they just keep on building them farther and farther and nothing on that empty frame. And then also I got really down,
Yeah.
only on one side.
See, now Patty's talking something, because Patty does all deeps, don't you?
No, God,
You don't really do mediums?
I primarily mediums. I would prefer mediums.
Okay,
But I'm stuck with these because the deeps are in the swarm traps and the 12 of them are now, I needed, yeah.
There was a good, video about King Rennes where he talked about that, where if you're adding, just a foundation frame, that you want to squeeze in the frames next to it so that they don't go crazy and do wonky go. But, if you're going just, like you have some old one that last season that you can put in that's already honey in, then, go ahead and space it. Now, you can also get a spacer hem thing that you can sort of use that to make sure you get a nice even spacing.
The space, those are typically 9 spacers.
Yeah.
Have 9 spacers.
Yeah, they're not spacing for people
Want to run 9.
who want to run now.
And I don't think. Yeah. All right, so there are spacers, actually I've got some hives that, my sister gave me, there's actually like little brackets on it that space out. I did find that was hard getting the frames out with those brackets.
Now, Sharon wanted us to use a bracket on our hives once we got them started.
Uh-huh.
And I really don't have too much trouble with it. I don't know if it's because I use the hive tool with that little side.
With the thumb.
Side hook.
Yeah,
It's like a J hook, but it's the combo, flat and J.
it's the hitchhiker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The angle of the hook is weird.
Well, I find that, okay, the
Once
one
you learn how
problem,
to use it,
well, it's, and I understand where he's coming, because you got the hook and then you've got the flat. There makes a difference on what side of the box you are on.
I agree with you. What I'm saying is, most J hooks that you buy have like a 90-degree. I mean, I have an example, pretty much a 90-degree. But the combo one I picked up is a more steeping curve. But you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So as you dig a frame up, it kind of slides away from you. That's a set aside.
And I don't have that trouble, but because I'll start on one end and then I work it towards the center instead of keeping it on the outside, so you're always walking back on the next frame. It works real well.
I want to circle back real quickly. While Tom's pulling it up, I want to circle back to what Ken was saying about freezing the frames. If you've ever taken anything out of the freezer and set it on the counter, it gets all wet and crusty. Yeah, so you want to ease your frames back in. So if you have the capacity to do that, go from the freezer into the refrigerator and let it thaw out a little bit like a turkey. And then bring it out and let it even thaw out outside a little bit, before you try to harvest it, because you can't get frozen honey out of the frames in that. Right.
Ask him how we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, think about, take a steak or something out of the freezer, how it gets frosted.
Tom,
That honey will do that same thing, pulling that moisture.
Tom, just to add to that, one of the things that I've done with that is, if I've got a full super, or if I've got them in a super, I'll take and set something on the bottom, just like I do to keep bees out of them. And then set something on top so that you can't introduce more moisture into the super.
Right.
And you're blocking moisture out, and then, that'll tend to keep them drier too. If you use that.
And okay, they're talking about honey. So
Yeah.
It, a lot of it depends on what you grew up and if this one works great for me, I like this, so there are different ones.
Yes,
and-
that's what you get used to.
Yeah, it's what you get used to, and.
I just worked with the high tool in my hand the
Yeah.
whole time. I never have to set it down. He's always like, set down that high tool.
Yeah.
If I put it down.
Well, Penny, you get a second.
So let me ask, the people that use this kind of high flyer question, so how do you bang on it to split the boxes?
I,
That's why I like the one that.
Try the box until it falls apart.
Yeah.
it's, I go a little bit each way, so I don't really ever.
So your bees don't get all amped up when you whack on it?
Is that what that's for? And you bang on those sides?
No.
I don't know, man. That's why, because I-
Okay, well, I don't, even for that thing, I don't like.
Okay, so you're saying with the insect one, because it's got that hook over for the, like the conventional teepee type tool, you bang on that.
Good, we got it. Okay, I'm more careful with my fryer, and I kind of find a little hole where I can start working it. And I have, first of all, it hurts my hand when I do that pound. Second, I have a tendency to gouge the little.
Which one are you calling? Hitch hiker?
That's the one Tom usually has.
Yeah, that's
hitch hiker.
I have used that, Jacob, no, I use it looks almost like a regular hive tool, and it has a little arm on
You mean like this one?
Yeah, that's the ditch.
That's the hitch
That's what
hiker.
I like. Cause you can use that where the hook is, that other part that's turned over, you can put that between the frame and it kinda,
Yeah.
you can wedge them apart.
Yeah, yeah.
You can do it the other two. Okay, Cindy?
Hmm.
Okay, so you've got the flat square, you put it this way and just try just like you do the other one.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, that's,
So again, it's what works. What
I have a question about when you put your frames back in the hive, so like. You take a frame out, you're gonna put in frames that are drawn, but you really, really don't want them to be putting more honey in there because you don't have enough time during the year. I want them to clean it up, but I don't want them to fill it up, because they're not gonna fill it all the way, they're gonna have like all these frames full, which is, or not full, but with just a little bit of honey in it, that's not the right one for content. And then it comes to ramping down the hives in the fall, and it's like, well, now what am I gonna do with all of it?
Freezer?
well,
In the freezer till next summer?
no, we didn't put that in a mistake. What James was saying is, when he has that, he puts the boxes in the room with the dehydrator.
Yeah.
And he forces through it, and that nectar.
When I'm done harvesting honey, I'm gonna be done harvesting.
Or you extract it all and use it for mead.
Or why not, like, if they're, how long are you talking about them gonna be filling it up? Like, a week or two before you're like really consolidating, or a month, or what's your time, Amy?
No, it's like if we harvest honey next week,
Yeah,
and then we put the boxes back on the hive bag and clean it up. A lot of times they will clean up a lot of
So
it.
maybe we can start necking down just a little bit too, and if we fill up with some of that gold rock.
And they start backfilling the brood nest, and then
So what I
you
do,
get on to
What we're gonna do is gonna form a
sort
Listen,
of, I'll have boxes where I'll put those ones that are partially drawn in them. And then I leave one. I leave them there, and then rob it.
yeah,
They'll pack it in
Yeah.
the root chamber or all.
you said you didn't want it in the root chamber, why not?
Well, that's,
well, the very end of the year, you do want it, but like,
Yeah, we get toward the end of the year.
yeah.
but even if,
You don't want to have 6 supers.
even if you put a box on that, they fill up a bit, like when it's time for winter, like. Take it off and, like, let them put it back into the yard, like whatever box you diminish to, then.
great.
Yeah, if I have some of those boxes, I'll take and set a hive stand out 50 feet away from, maybe 100 feet away from the apiary. And I'll put like a couple of 2x4 pieces underneath the open medium.
Yeah.
Put those right.
I've done that, put it on mine, we have some benches that are, slatted and they can get up underneath it, but then so can an ant.
Yeah,
So,
so if it's in the sun, it's not too bad, but
yeah.
the other thing I'll do is I'll put the partials and then I'll back feed and fill it.
It's amazing how, when that bacteria, ants.
So I would always, I'll sort through the ones that are mostly full, they'll go on hive for winter feed,
Yeah.
and then I don't care. In the spring.
Circling back to Tom's pounding on.
Okay.
I don't like to pound on the high tree, actually sanded.
No.
I've sanded the corners of all my boxes, so it's easy to get that free tool in without splitting and splintering the wood. So then I can.
Maybe you're misunderstanding, I'm not smashing the wood apart.
No, I know, you're trying to get the tool in there.
Like this, you just put it there and go.
Yeah, like, right, you're just trying to, break the propolis.
Yeah.
Right, it's propolis,
Trying to crack the box.
yeah, right.
Right.
So like I don't.
Yeah. It's, and again, it's what you get used to. Again, whatever's gonna work for you.
Standard corner sounds like.
And that's why it's good to go work bees with as many people as you can, because everybody does it different. And you might find something that you really like that,
It allows you to try different hives, like maybe you never tried one of these down here.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think I tried one once and threw it away, but like this, you may try one that he had.
But nobody's gonna go out and buy the one on the left,
I'm missing out.
that yellow one.
Right, or this one.
No, nobody uses those. I'm just trying to.
We have some, and you can try. it.
I've had one for 9 years, and guess what, we don't use it.
Yeah. And again, it's, a lot of it is what you started with, and the first one you had.
We started with that, and then we do the jabs.
we've got it free in my first beekeeper 101 class.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next question here?
You sort of covered it a little bit, but
Okay, what's that? Okay, the removing your cappings, there are, and again, seeing it in person, getting your hands sticky, doing it, you're gonna learn some things. You really have to just plain old get your hands sticky, and they will get sticky. Like.
Or your gloves you're wearing, if you wear some of those nitrile gloves, those can get sticky, but then you don't feel sticky. So then you don't feel like you gotta wash your hands every 2 seconds and you take those.
Oh, okay.
Worst thing there, you can also just rinse them off like that too, and then you.
But, okay, in your hands in the
You
sink,
do.
you do not wax down a sink.
Right.
No.
You don't do wax in
Never,
the
never.
dishwasher, you don't do it again, because what happens, and you use cold water.
Yep.
Why would you use cold water? Karen, why would I use cold water?
So you don't know the wax.
Correct, so it's then it has flaky state and goes down. So, okay, so I did some extraction, I wanted to clean my screen. I put it out, just like we talked about with the frames, I put it out and let the bees rob out the wax, and then my wax is left, and I put it in the shaded area versus the sunny area. They'll clean up the honey out of that wax, and then I've got basically just flaky wax, flakes off a lot of that, I can get that off. Then I have a couple of, I have a product called Front Cutter that I use to get the
It's,
last little bit of residual wax off. Then I run it through the dishwasher. So again, how you.
After it's been cleaned and sterilized by PK, it's sterilized in the dish.
Scrub all the wax off, not necessarily sterilized, then it gets sterilized.
So if you put Kreg cutter, that gets you wax off.
And all you want to see it dissolve propolis.
well, that's all.
Really?
I didn't,
Yes.
I didn't like that yet.
I use it on the high tools, I clean up the high tools all the time. I put it on my bee suit, so when I've got the propolis all over my front of my bee suit, I spray it with Better, and you'll see it just immediately,
Wow.
the propolis just, yellow starts
I,
stripping down.
I know you had talked about that, it was really good for cleaning up the resin off of your smoke.
Oh, yeah, the high tools, my suit.
Is it a spray bottle?
Yeah, you can buy, it's in the paint part of the farm and fleet.
You
You
can get
can
it.
buy a
you
spray
can
bottle,
get-
you can buy the gallons, and I got the
you
spray
can get
bottle. that you
concentrate.
fill by the gallon. So, yeah, and it's biodegradable, so I feel safe using it on the stuff, and like I said, it dissolves the propolis, the wax, it loosens up, I might have to use a little brush to loosen it a little bit more, but then again, it's not.
Of course, I've got a little refrigerator in my workshop and I put my hive tool in there. And then I scrape the propolis and put the propolis.
Gotta do that, but then you still have some left on, and
Well, there's not much.
I get it out of my suit as opposed to
Yeah.
top suit, right?
I never found anything.
He's got Well,
Well,
My suit is plastic and what's called, I hate the
okay, well, that I should have done. And again.
But good point.
Yeah.
Be careful with.
yeah, try small areas.
Yeah, so there's different things. Okay, so, okay,
What are you putting in the dishwasher?
the strainers, the bread knife, the scratcher, the roller. After, yeah.
Yeah. Frame.
Yeah.
No, I don't run the dishwasher, so. Yeah, so, how about Saturday, I'll show you.
Yeah.
So
So
you
these are
said you
some
were
of the-
doing something Thursday?
A Friday, I'm pulling frames. Okay, now, okay, so I'm gonna pull frames on Fridays, if you wanna come, we can maybe extract them. I can at least show you. Okay, so when you, with the extractors, for the most of them, they are in threes. So you could put like the 6, you can do 3, or you can do 6. You can't do 4. The 12, I can do 3, 6, 9, 12. I can't do 10. It makes it unbalanced.
Well, you can, but then it's like a washing machine that's unbalanced, walking away from you.
Yeah.
Not bad, because
Well,
we'll
that's
walk
when
away
you
from
lay
your
it
bucket.
out.
Yeah, walk away from your bucket.
And then that's when you blow out your frames, because it's falling so much, the frames get blown off, frames get broken.
Wobble away from your bucket, and
Yeah.
you have the open gate over and.
Yeah, and then
She may fix
You
that.
got floor.
She punched for the bucket. And so if it moves, the bucket goes with it.
Oh, there you go.
Again, there's, little tricks,
You know.
different tricks, different ways, and as Cindy said, go to different places and you will see different methods, different things, and say, oh, Kathy does, oh, I like what Cindy does, oh, I like what Kelly does. And, maybe what, and.
No one likes
This is what- And Tom, and you just said something.
Quality control, this is gonna work, you gotta make sure.
Yes, it's, and you can say, oh, I like that idea, and then you try it, and how like, no, I don't like doing that idea.
Yeah.
And that's,
So Tom's got most of the items that we would use for, decapping up there. So you wanna put it in one of those tanks, doesn't have to be one of those $200 tanks,
I
but.
gotta say, I like the uncapping scratcher.
So these are different uncapping tools. So like traditionally, this is the one that was usually used as a hot knife. So this is heated up and then I kind of skim the wax off the top of it. I haven't used one of those in probably 6 years. I've switched to this mostly. It doesn't work very well with all honey.
It has, as with anything, pros and
It's
cons.
just the trim, but actually the majority of my stuff is done on this.
We don't have one of those. Is Club gonna buy one?
Yeah.
Open it up bigger, that's the roller thing, to just slide the frames through.
Two, what are those, Ron?
Yeah.
So if you got thick, if you got thick one,
I don't.
So this is what it looks like right here. So I clamp this on my own capping tank if you want to hold it. Section. So.
I don't know.
So this,
But can show it.
I just put the frame down through here. So for me, I really don't want super fat frames. Like 9 would be good, but like even 9, this boogers this up a fair bit. So I kind of put it down at an angle and then I come at the other angle. Then I'll slide it over and I'll do it again.
Okay,
What it does is it slits the cap.
when you say that where the wax is kind of stuck in the little
The
vein.
wax will jam into these veins.
And that's what the roller would do. It works well, but you gotta realize that sometimes it starts plugging up.
So with the roller, what I found is don't go hammer down. Don't put a ton of weight
Yeah.
on there. You just want it to prick the cappings and that's it. You don't want to necessarily mash all the cone with it. You're not putting a ton.
And it's like a bunch of little, and if it gets full, you've gotta have a method of, I've got,
That's what the scrapers was.
yeah.
So that, and I'll catch up the other parts with this and or this to catch the rest of the frame.
Now, the bread knife queen won't be there Saturday, I've gotta replace you. So again, so there, you can look at the different methods of uncapping, and I don't use just one, I use a variety.
Yeah, because even with the front knife, you got those
You got
shallow
shallow areas,
spots, and then you got
and sometimes with the roller.
I use the scraper more of like a flicker
Yeah, and some people go as a scratcher this way, some go as
underneath.
underneath the pull.
and
Yeah.
pull out.
So the other thing I do with this is I'll have 3 of these, 2 or 3 of these in my own capping tank. And I'll kind of alternate through them. So I'll let one hang and let it dribble out. But if you don't go late in the season when the honey's super thick or like fall honey, this works pretty darn good. And don't get too nutty with it. Now, somebody here does the hot.
Was that Ron?
Either like the blow dryer or.
It is.
I think it was Ron.
It's a Beacon.
I tried a gun and I didn't have much luck with it.
I threw the Beacon.
Then you got papers that melt off. or-
Well, I
If
tried
you use a hot knife, it takes that hot wax with it,
right.
but.
And again, different methods will make, okay, so the roller, the the bread knife, all the cappings go in the tub, so there's very little cappings in the extractor itself. The roller, sometimes you'll get more wax flakes in an extractor with there. So
Same
again,
with
there's a
the stripe.
trade-off, and
Same
where do I want to drain my honey out of the wax? Out of the uncapping tub, or out of what's coming out of the extractor in the strainer that it's going into? See, so there, again, there's pros and cons to each one
I'll
of
tell you
these.
a pro tip on this too, when you buy one of these, I don't know if John fixed it on his or not, but, I glue that cap on the end really good because it kept falling off on me.
Like a,
Oh, mine is-
like a pavement over, slides down.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I glue
And then show them the tub and how the uncapping tub works.
okay.
That one, they have one there, but there's different ones you can get, that you put your
it. These work
frame,
really, really well.
you put your frame on the rest above there, that little wooden bar. Some of them are plastic.
There's a
or metal.
nail
So you're talking about this.
So, yeah, it sits on top of that, you cut off or roll off or whatever. And then all your cappings fall into that first tub, which then has,
The screen.
screen on the bottom.
Queen excluder.
And then-
Hive button has an attachment for that too.
Yeah.
Where you've got the you know, I've got like 3 of those high butler things, and one of them's got the.
And,
thing on
and,
it. And it's got, what it's got is, it's just like the other, it's got a mesh on the bottom of it. And so it's made for doing what that was doing, but it's the actual high butler product.
I've got that too, and I have the Simple Harmony, and I had to strap that Simple Harmony down somehow. And that one that was on there, the gray one, looks like it wouldn't press in the Simple Harmony. It just has those 2 thin wings that they sort of, once you get some pressure on it, it wants to.
and the quality. The gray one is one of the, what I'm gonna do Saturday is I'll have the display of the, what's in our uncapping kit. So we've got the extractor on a stand, but then we have the gray box and all these parts. So you'll have the scratcher in there, you'll have a roller in there, you have a hot knife in there. You've got a couple different types of strainers in there. In fact, you probably have 3 different types of strainers in there. There will be a refractometer in there, within that, and stuff. Because we got this one donated, and so it's gonna go in the kit. So you can see the kit. Now, what I'm gonna do on Saturday, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I've got tubs that have that wooden bar across, so you can do it and it'll drop into the tub. So it doesn't strain it, but I'll show you how to strain it. You'll get a paint strainer and a rubber band that fits those buckets also. That is very handy and stuff. So again,
So the paint strainer I found, like the best thing that I found so far for it is, at Menards, they have these little tiny clamps. They're like, I don't know how.
yeah,
They just right on the top of the bucket.
yeah.
The little ones, they're tiny, they hold it there, but I'll pull it down below, I'll show you the bucket picture here.
Now, see, I've got a big, thick rubber band that I can put on the top. Kathy saw it.
So like, that works really well too.
Yeah.
I'll pull it all the way down to here.
Right.
And then that way I'll get one click up to here and then a click up to here before things go awry. So, early honey goes through pretty easy, but then as the honey gets super thick or if it gets cool, you know, like if you're doing it in the garage when it's cool in the season and the honey's super thick, it's quite the pain, but I'll pull it all the way down to here and I'll put those clips around the top sometimes.
Do you use a strainer above the paint?
No, I just use a paint strainer and that's it.
Yeah, and again, see, so
They have all kinds of strainers.
yeah, and you can try one and try another one, say, hey, I like this one, I don't like that one. And that's okay, you know, so again, so then you can kind of say, you know, our kit has the various kinds. So if and when you buy your own, you know what you like. Because sometimes, how many times have you bought something, I don't like this?
So there's that stainless steel colander type
Right.
thing that's in your bucket. And that's got 2 parts. The first shallow tray is a coarser,
It's a coarse screen.
and then the round part is I think it's like
It gets-
600 microns.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it gets the big stuff, then the littler stuff, and then the paint strainer gets the littler stuff. You know, we've
You
got,
also can get from John, he has these plastic strainers, and when I first saw them, I thought, those things will never work.
they work, and, okay, now with any strainer, when the more cappings you have in it, it starts plugging up, doesn't matter, and the plastic ones plug up pretty quick. So, and he's got some of those deep ones, which are pretty nice. He's also got like a hot strainer, which has that same idea as that color. Sometimes trying to figure out how it fits underneath the extractor can make a difference and stuff. So the plastic ones, it go, yeah.
I use a regular plastic kitchen strainer
Mhm.
and a couple of layers cheesecloth.
Right.
And it fits right down on the top of a 5-gallon bucket. And I keep all my cappings in there. I give them to her. And I have a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, and
I have
it's like that.
strainer, and that's it.
Yeah, and I've got like a A lot of your beer making companies have stuff that kind of like, that kind of works. You know, so I've got a strainer that you could do that with. But again, there's the more stuff that is in the extractor, the more you have to strain out. So that trade-off between, do I want it in the capping bucket or do I want it in the extractor? But all that wax has to come off somewhere along the line. So there's.
Also, be prepared, if you're getting your honey extracted at BK, as it goes through the extractor, it creates air. As it goes through the strainers, it creates air. So you're gonna have lots of bubbles in your honey. You may not be able to see them all, but you don't wanna bottle it right away. So you're gonna wanna let it sit, and then even if you have it in a bucket that doesn't have a gate on it, and you're putting it from that bucket into a bucket that has a gate, again, that creates air, so let it sit. So if you want nice clear honey, wait.
Did you say a gate?
Yes,
What's
the
that?
gate would be
Bottling bucket.
the bucket, the bottling bucket, it has a gate.
Right there, just
So-
that little deal.
That's how you, okay, there's buckets for storage. And then you have one, you would typically have one bucket for bottling. So in other words, like I'll have, you know, like 5 or 6 buckets. When I go to bottle it, I have my bottling bucket. I dump from this bucket to that bucket. And then you can bottle it. So you don't have, all of your buckets don't have to
And
be
then
bottled.
One of the left.
that one on the left, that one is great. It's great, except it won't sit flat on the
Yeah.
It
ground.
goes down below.
So you have to have something, yeah.
I put it in the bottom of the
Yeah.
but then it's harder to don't.
Well, and even like from the extractor, if you're going into that. one.
I had a hard
Yeah.
time getting, filling my bottles.
Oh, really? I was so.
But for filling bottles, 1 pound bottle, it's the ticket.
Yeah,
My waist. Way down.
yeah.
So I had, I'll find out if I fix the problem, soon.
Oh,
My bottling bucket, the part,
it screws together.
there's it's like a, a nut and a bolt that, the bottling part on the outside of the, this. outside of The gate, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the nut on the back, on the inside of the bucket,
Uh-huh.
the gasket on the screw.
Collapsing.
I know you're gonna say, it's screwed out through it.
It does, and so, and I tried it several times, I'm like, well, that's as good as it gets, and I'm like, well, we'll see what happens, and it did drip a little bit. And, yeah, not horrible, but there was no way to make it work with that rubber gasket to seal it. So I, cleaned it all up and everything like that, threw that little piece of plastic away, because it was dumb. And then,
You threw away the gasket?
yeah, because it didn't do anything.
So what you could do, it's gonna make it
So-
permanent, but you could take and put some silicone
That's
around
what
it.
I was doing. So I got, what was that?
You don't need to take the gate off to clean.
So I got some food grade silicone to put on it and put it around the threads on that and on the inside of that and.
Yeah.
did all that. So it's not, I don't think it's gonna leak, I haven't used it yet, but like he said, it's a permanent solution. Like, I'm gonna only be able to clean the exterior surface, which won't matter, because
That's all
like,
we do.
honey won't get into anywhere.
No, but if it's not leaking, it's not getting there.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Finally
Yeah.
got that one down.
So I said it gets all.
Yeah,
Honey gets everywhere.
well, the silicone got everywhere too, I'm pretty sure I siliconed it too good.
These are the tickets.
It's good.
But right here, it's only a third of the price or half the price of what John's.
Okay, what those are, okay, they use my paint bucket type stuff. And what it does, you pound on your lid
No, I put them out.
with a rubber mallet, you get it on nice and snug, but then it's hard to pry off, and that's what that is. And again, I can show you that on Saturday, or we can make an arrangement for you guys to come.
They're worth every penny.
And I'm okay with that, with the gate
The flat one.
on the right.
So
We have some both ways.
Okay,
this is what I was talking about with the thickness.
Some of them occasionally
Oh,
Get some
thickness of
drip
the
bits,
bucket.
that, one of the levels.
So how many mils do you want? Is it mil? 90?
Is that on the bucket someplace?
Yeah.
I think it is on the bottom,
Is it?
at least it is.
I must admit, nobody's,
So Kathy brought up something that I think it's a pretty good tip for different people, not for me, but for other people that have to deal with the buckets and can't lift them. So like this bucket full is 60 pounds. So then if you think about
That's it.
getting this up onto a bottling bucket on your kitchen counter is a treacherous, even if you're strong, is a treacherous. That too.
Just after the anger and
all that.
Yeah.
There's lots of custom. So, she switched to smaller containers of all different sorts. So,
No, well, the buckets I bought, they're a food grade bucket and I wanna say it's 90 milliliters or something like that. But they're food grade buckets, 3.5 gallons with lid. And again, I think a lot of beekeeping stuff, the difference is small time, 2 hives versus a lot of hives. I can, kind of,
managed.
well, I can do like things that might take more money or more time because I don't have to do it to the biggest.
that's what I was trying to say,
Yeah.
is that it works out, because everybody has different needs.
Right.
So you may have a space requirement, or may not have a space requirement. Have those, or you may have I can't lift anything over 30 pounds, so maybe you need to look for 2-pound buckets or something like that. Just keep those things in mind, is that this bucket full is super duper heavy.
It's
And
very,
it's an accident waiting to happen and dumping into a bottle.
Well, or
50
just,
to 60 pounds, easy.
right, so even just
I can do.
driving around with a bucket, I don't want it to tip over, because then what? But I found mine,
God forbid you transport it in your vehicle and to take it from one farm to another.
That's
that's what I'm saying. Talk about a waste of time.
Thank goodness for rubber format.
Yeah, but.
Really tall. Not very tall.
Okay, what time we got?
I got them on Amazon, by the way.
Yeah.
Did we answer all those questions?
No, we got some more.
Oh, what questions do we have? Okay, how much, honey, can you get me to Frank? Well,
It's very.
what's, what are 2 big bags? Or 1 big bag?
Whether it's a medium or a deep.
Medium or a deep, okay, that's one.
Or a fat.
Fatty shark? Okay, so you get fatter ones, thinner ones, stuff like that. So approximately a deep frame, 6 to 8 pounds, medium frame, 3 to 4. Anybody got shallows around here? So,
Only when we're doing phone.
Well, that does.
okay, so shallow frames, they get 2 to 3 pounds.
Yeah,
Yeah, so again, so.
and I have some that. Honey is.
Right, and that's where I think shallows are used more on the, to tell you the truth, just because of the size, it's not real big. They are,
Yeah, you use like 4-inch squares.
I,
the rock.
I'll cut them out in the 4-inch squares. I've got the wax solid across it.
Right.
Okay, what he's talking about, okay, so when you harvest, or what you want, he's doing what they call comb honey, so when he's got his frame, you do a starter strip? Or just a wax or anything, but just build? Okay,
No, I use wax. I use wax.
okay,
Wax foundation.
a wax foundation.
And I have my little cookie cutter.
And so it builds there, but then he has a cookie cutter, like a square one. So you take the frame and you cut it, and so then you've got your square of coat. And there are some people who really want that coat, and you can charge extra for it too.
The only reason I did it to start with was my dad,
Mhm.
because he loved it.
Oh,
And I've had a lot of people, ask me if I have comb honey or if I do it. And I'm gonna do a limited number. But, yeah,
Now, we've got some top bar frames. We've got a variety of hives that are one of them top bar, which is frameless. And I'm gonna try and do some of that out of there, foam honey. Because, again, because, okay, top bar is where it just has that top bar. There's no side, no bottom, or anything. you can't, it's a tough management, is because you can't flip the frame. You have to look at it this way. You can't angle it looking for eggs. And the only way to get the honey out is to crush it, which means they have to rebuild it.
Yeah.
So,
And it takes 8 pounds of wax, or 8 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax.
Yeah.
So.
and the
wise,
other top part, you cannot, this cannot be, okay, like with your Langstroth, you can shuffle your frames from different hives, different boxes. The top bar you cannot, unless it's made exactly the same. They are each individually made. So I've got one that I use as tool chest, and the other one, I've got a third one. You can't exchange frames because they're different sizes and won't fit. So if you want a top bar hive, you think, oh, I want one of those, come out and look and we'll talk. But what, that one?
So when you sell those, how much you sell a 4-inch,
You know what, I will have to look to see what they're going for, because I still have 4 in my freezer that have been in there for probably close to 10 years. And I just give those. But this year I have to look and see, I'll do a couple of different farmers markets and see what they're getting.
Now, there was somebody who presented to us, and he made like little wooden box. And so he just pulled out that box, so he had a wooden frame on it.
I've got clear boxes.
Yeah, and while he put that in a box, he sold it like that, $20. And this was 10 years ago?
It's a big piece that he gave $20. I don't
Yeah.
think that's not.
Yeah, no, but he, with a nice little wooden kind of, almost an individual frame. He didn't put it in a box, he put it in something else, but I don't remember quite how he.
Cause he didn't
I
cut
would love
it,
to
we were doing,
Yeah.
he had these little squares that
I've
the bee
seen
built
those.
the honey in.
I
And they
see-
have round ones too.
I see those at
It's a whole
Dick's,
different management. huh?
Yeah.
and Hilco, I think Hilco has too.
Yeah.
But I've got 2 of the cookie cutters and I
Yeah.
have old frames,
Right.
so I've just kind of stuck with those.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think those are going for about 15 or so. Squares.
See, we were getting $20 for them, actually 3 years ago, about 3 years ago. The first year, we were real successful. They built them out, everything. The next year, they built them out and then didn't put any honey in them. And this year, we've, done it again this year, and we're gonna get a little bit. We're not gonna get a lot.
So you sell them for about 20?
$20 for a square. And anybody who wanted it, we didn't have any complaints about the product.
I send all my people who that ask for it, I would send them to. Sure.
We've had one good year in it.
Hopefully we'll have some this year.
So
Yeah, do
I
you
didn't
do
look up.
chunk honey too?
I have not.
See, cause we use the,
Recently asked us for.
You want to explain what chunk honey is?
but we use medium frames. We don't use the shallow to do it. And so whenever, what we did the year that we did it, we would look for the best looking area. We would cut it. And then a lot of times you would have some above or some below left. And so we would take those little strips and chunks of it and we'd put it in a jar and fill the jar full of honey. And people seem to like it. It works too.
And that's part of, how to package it, that I think, Rob Preston is gonna talk about. How you package it and that sales pitch makes a difference. And depending on how much work you do.
And the people that we know that like comb honey, but we don't maybe have any comb honey at the time, we'll give them a jar like that, but with the wax cappings in it as well. Because for some reason, they like spreading it on their toast or chewing it up and whatever, and so, it's most people that we give it to.
Yeah.
As long as they're nice, good, clean,
much is that?
bright white cappings or
Yeah.
or a fatty.
Shakes up and it looks like
It's bonkers with stuff.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Okay, well, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
My sister bought me some stuff, sent it to me, I gave one away. It was basically a square, a 1-inch square of honeycomb in a little package, like almost like a snack type. $7.
For 1 inch.
For 1 inch square of honeycomb. It was happening, I'll bring one and show it to you.
Okay.
It was,
I've been playing with, you were talking about the box honey. I think Man Lake, or maybe it was Kelly, used to sell the kits for that. And the problem is, they fill it out nicely in some parts, and then other parts, it's just miserable, and,
okay,
So I did a little bit of research, online because, I had someone asking me how much, my honey was, and so I looked at pricing trends. And so in 2018-19, it was stable, slightly upward due to an interest in natural organic products. So it was selling for $8 to $10 a pound. In 2020 to 2021, it was rising. COVID disruption, to supply lines, increased cost, but continued demand for local honey. A pound was going for 10 to 15. And 22 to 23 was slightly rising. The inflation we've been facing, and I don't know if anybody feeds sugar, but that's gone up. The woodenware, even the Johns has gone way up. So inflation and increasing production costs, have raised the high price of honey to $12 to $18 per pound.
okay.
But, I think locally, most people around here are probably still about $10 a pound.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about, that's a fair price for you, fair price for your customers.
Yes.
And you can do marketing and, the girls down in Hayward, they put it in what looks like a French perfume bottle, and they get $15. So it was, Rob will talk about some of that.
I think that size makes a difference in it too, like, I think that yours probably, that your little 2-ounce bears that you sell, you don't sell those for what it would be $10 a pound, I mean, you can mark those.
Yeah. Yeah, those were, I figured out what was $10 a pound, it's kind of like, okay, and then, okay.
Nightmare still.
Okay, here's what I do, I get a measuring cup, and I pour it into the measuring cup, and then.
I just do those little bears out of my gate.
Yeah, but see, Tom does it, it would be bad.
Patty, you need to get that filler that John's selling. Oh, you
Doesn't
can,
work on those little bears. That filler, I can tell you this, and I'm not trying to push it here, but it's worth.
How much is it? How much fun?
$7.99. Man Lake sold it for $1,400.
Yeah.
Same exact unit. I made him a bet the first day, he didn't take it. I told him, I said, I'll have these sold the first day. And he didn't take it. I sold every single weight, 75 of them, I sold them out. I filled 3/4 of a drum of honey on that thing, and I washed the plate 3 times. And that was because I missed. And that was it. It never dripped once. And I probably filled 1,200 bottles of honey.
Is that room temperature?
That was room temperature. No, I take that back. So it was on the guy's porch in, where's he at, Missouri? And then we had a heater thing in there to get it liquid, but it definitely wasn't heated. It was pretty chilly, like it was cold. And it'll draw from a bucket. It's a it's a gear pump. It'll draw right from your buckets. It is the cat's meat.
So it is durable, is what you're saying.
You can park it.
We were concerned about it, is how durable.
It's outstanding. And he changed it now where it's like double the pump. The pump's way stronger. It's got a taller filler on. So it does it by weight. So the tricky bit is it does it by grams. So you gotta get the calculator out and figure out what your grams are for a 1 pound bottle, whatever you do, right? The other tricky part is getting it lined up, especially for me, because I don't have great depth perception, so I gotta get it like lined up perfect. So I would draw a mark on the plate for it or 3D print something to hold it perfect. But there's a few tricks there, but, it has like a silicone tube on the end. And when it gets to the end of the weight, it pulls it up and takes the drip right off, and it never drips. Never drips. I mean, like I said, I probably did 1,000 bottles. Pretty snappy. And then when you're done, you can pump most of it out and then, back pump soapy water through. You know,
The cost again was approximately?
$800.
so just look at taste
Which is,
and stuff like that. It's really.
Okay. Right, so, anybody here coming Saturday? 1, 2, okay. And, okay, yeah, you're not gonna.
No,
Yeah, and we already helped, he, again, I bailed my buddy out. Again, when the equipment was returned, it wasn't working and he's kind
So
of
let's
like,
talk about how you clean them real
Okay.
quick. So like, how are you cleaning your gear? So like like the extractor, so you let it all the honey dribble out as much as you can, scrape as much as you can. That-
okay, here's what I do.
I think
Okay?
this is really,
Yeah, it is, I take it outside, open it up and let the bees do some cleaning. Now, when I do this, the strainers and the uncapping and all this stuff, I don't put it all in one little space. I actually move it, where there's several, every 50 feet, there's another little piece of equipment hanging on the fence or something, so it kind of spreads the bees out. So I put it out and let the bees clean it. There will be some that get stuck in that honey. So let me back up a little bit. I tip that extractor so it drains better. Different extractors drain a little bit different. So I do a tip and let it set overnight, so anything that's in there does drain out a little bit. I let the bees clean up some, and then I have it outside and I take a pressure washer to it. Now I put a plastic bag over the motor.
right,
Motors don't like rain,
right.
don't like wet, but I will literally take a pressure washer to the inside. What do you do?
I'm curious what everybody else.
I use a hose with a sprayer,
Yeah.
cold water.
Yeah, cold water.
From the well.
Okay, people think, oh, well, hot water will dissolve it. What it does, it all smells to wax and you've got wax smeared and then it doesn't come off. So you always, when you're cleaning your equipment, use cold water, very much, definitely cold.
I'll take what I do with ours is I'll put a little bit of soap in there. And I'll fill the thing up completely full of water and I'll let it sit because it'll liquefy all the honey and all that stuff. And then I'll drain it out and spray it out some, then I'll fill it up again. And I fill it up 2 or 3 times. And I use the water that I put in the bucket and put it on.
Yeah.
So I reuse my water as much as I can,
That was good.
but I can put
The water.
yeah.
So I let the bees have some of it, but I don't pile it all in one area. All the pieces. of
Sometimes the
equipment-
bees are too slow and cleaning it up. I'm like, come on, girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got, so it does depend on,
the closer you are to dirt, the better they are.
That's all.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they got it during the day, so they've got a day to do it, and then that night it gets wheeled back in. I made for my personal one, when Bob gets better, make one for, underneath the stand where I can roll it around, rather than trying to lift the damn thing.
I saw a cool trick on one of the forums the other day that I think I'm gonna try and make for this year is they took 4x4s, like 4x4 pieces of wood,
Uh-huh.
and they cut it, made a square, then put plywood on top of that, bolted their extractor to that, and then put a bag of sand on that. I think that's a pretty slick idea.
Well, what I found with the wheels, what I do is then, I put like foam, the kind of foam, not the real light foam, but the real thick stuff underneath the wheels and allows it to move a little bit, but not go across the floor. And you can stand up.
Yep.
The other cool thing I saw, okay, what kind of cover do you put on your extractor?
What would you say?
What kind of cover you put on your extract? You know, it works real well. A grill cover, the round kettle grill, yeah. Easy to take off. Oh. And it's $15 a pound.
Okay, anything else? We're down to that 6-minute window. Actually, I have a tip. And something somebody said earlier made me think of it. If you've got a bucket of honey and whenever all of that foam rises to the top, you've got that thick layer. If you take a piece of saran wrap, put on that foam, stick down on the foam and pick it up real quick and pull it off and strip that, most of that foam.
You got something for it to go into.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you can just take the plastic out, and you can let the bees,
Yeah.
eat the honey.
Or,
Off
you
the
know, or
plastic.
you like put it in your hand and like squeeze it like
Yeah.
that and then
You
you.
did that.
Then you eat it
And
yourself.
keep it for yourself, yeah. It's still good honey. It's got a bit of wax on it.
Bucket and it sticks on the lid, which works really well.
Yeah, that works too.
Oh, really?
8:55.
All right, okay,
One thing, if you can't come to PK's for extracting, we will be extracting the following weekend. You're welcome to come watch, help if you want, just, you know,
yeah, and
pop in and out. We don't have all the stuff that the club has, we just have our stuff. But it'd be
Yeah.
the 3rd and 4th of August,
We'll do the farm.
we'll be pulling the 1st and 2nd and then.
can we maybe just put that on the
I don't want that many people.
Okay.
I want the dedicated ones who came to the meeting.
Okay.
We have 23 people here,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
My phone number is 815-848-3150.
It's fine.
848-3150. 815.
I used to have to work out, I feel great, man.
How many things are that?
You're empty this week.
Now you can sell you some beef.
All right, so. Any books, if you want to check them out with Cynthia, that's why you put them on that table, name tags, scrap goes inside and up there, and I will get you one next one. Take, that row of tables need to be folded and you got name tag. Things,
There was 3 on the sides.
Thanks everybody online.
okay.
How many you?
How many we have?